And then we'll transition to phase 2 of the world domination plan. Does anybody have any further, June sales are going great. We have got a great plan for expanding our international resellers, which I will get to in a second. Close the door. Hey guys, welcome to Gear Tasting. Today I wanted to start off by talking about a few little housekeeping things, and then I want to get into questions because I want to review kind of my bug out bolt type bag grab thing. I don't know what to call it. So everybody's got their own terms for those kind of bags. I tend to go with specific, definitions in my mind of what those things are, and I want to talk through that. But it also kind of plays into some stuff that I have here that I want to go over. So first off, I would like to thank the good tape Samaritan that sent us in this Brigade Quartermaster's 100-mile-an-hour duct tape. I appreciate the gesture. I think that this was in response to my call to action for trying to find the source for military-grade 100-mile-an-hour tape. And while this is very close to this stuff, it's not quite exactly it. So, but I do appreciate you sending it. I was checking it out, and it does seem to have really good adhesive properties, and it tears very easily, just like the military grade stuff. So it does look like great quality tape. It does say it is made in US, which is a great thing. But I want to say that someone put up a link to like an Army property website in that specific gear tasting where I was talking about or asking the question of where to get this stuff. So anyhow, now that I know I can get it, it's like $50 to buy 6 rolls or something like that. So I haven't wanted to spend that money to buy it yet. So, but it does mean that I'm going to start using this and not squandering it away like I have been. So anyhow, thank you, Good Tape Samaritan. The next thing that I want to do is propose a question to the audience, which is, do you guys that wear Fitbits know where to get that sounds like a really corny question. Do you guys know where to get a bracelet at? One that's not going to break. I think I've gone through like 3 of these already in the 2 years I've been wearing a Fitbit. I really enjoy it. I am writing an article kind of on the, the perceived, what would you call it? There's a term I had for that and it's escaping me, but anyhow. The feedback that you get all the time with a Fitbit can actually be a little bit detrimental too, because you're so focused on the numbers. But anyway, I'll save that for another discussion. I'm just curious if you guys have had the same type of problem with them splitting and breaking apart on you. When you buy the Fitbit, it comes with like a small and a large size wrist or bracelet, but I keep having to order these. So I did see some on Amazon that were not Fitbit brand. They claim to be stronger. I just haven't used them yet. But anyhow, let me know if you got something for that. So let's get into some questions over coffee. Today I'm drinking Premium Boss Black Coffee. Buddy Nick sent me this. Some gifts from the motherland. He said he's Japanese and loves sending me stuff that has my last name on it. So anyhow, thanks Nick. So the question first that I kind of wanted to address that gets into the bag type of stuff is Ryan from Facebook asks, putting together a get home bag, which is a good way to describe it. Part of it will contain ETA trauma kits. Curious to know if you think I'd be good with the standard or need the plus. One thing that I'm going to do when I go through this bag is show you that it hasn't been updated in about, I wanted to say 2 years. That's what I was talking to Rob about, and he gave me shit for some of the components in here. But I really think it's probably been like 3 years since I've updated this thing. I have gone through from time to time because it's on my OmniFocus list on when to update expirables, so I do keep those things up to date, but every time I get into here I cringe and think, oh crap, I should really update this thing, and you'll see why in a minute. It's huge, obviously, but there's a reason for that, and I'll get into that. But real quick, I wanted to address Ryan's question. So we make two types of kits, and not to turn this into a whole ITS product thing, but just real quick, we make a basic and advanced trauma kit. So this is called the ETA kit because it treats the 3 leading causes of preventable death in the field, which is extremity hemorrhage, tension pneumothorax, and airway obstruction, so hence the ETA name. The basic does not have the MPA or the needle. So if you're looking for a decompression needle and an MPA, go with the advanced kit. If you don't need those two things, go with the basic. So they both have combat gauze in them, Halo chest seals. They feature the new Halo vent seals as well, an Israeli 4-inch, and gloves, casualty card, basically everything you need to treat those 3 things. So we tried to build in some redundancy in the kits too with common items. So then we have our first aid kits, which we call our boo-boo kits, and then we have the basic boo-boo kit. We don't really call it the basic, but it does have less components than the plus. So there's the boo-boo kit and the boo-boo kit plus. The plus, the difference here is that you get quite a few more things with that. You get a gauze pad, a 4x4 quick clot EMS gauze pad. You've got some more gauze in there. You've got 4x4s versus just 2x2s that are in the regular boo-boo kit. Then you've got surgical tape, like a CPR face shield, a irrigation syringe, a cold pack, a pair of gloves. I think what else I'm missing? Sanitizing wipes, tweezers, some real good metal tweezers. So those things are the big difference between what's in the boo-boo kit. So you've got common meds and things like that, basically to treat your boo-boos, because you're far more likely to need a Band-Aid than a pack of combat gauze most days. So that's just a quick difference. One thing that you'll see in my bag that I have to grab is that it was I designed this and put it together before we came out with these products. So we've had trauma kits for a long time, which I always carry in the car. So this bag it's really hard for me to put a label on this bag because I don't carry it in my car all the time. It's not a bulk bag. I'm not going to put it on my back and go hike 10 miles with it. I could, but I'm not going to, because the purpose of this is to keep it at home. In my opinion, you're far more likely to bug in than bug out, if you want to use those terms. So I have a food storage supply at home, as well as many things to kind of, I guess, to keep us living and breathing and eating and things like that at home, rather than having all that stuff on the go ready for some emergency where I'm going to walk to some place I don't even know where. So I do have, people that have land and things like that and places I could go, but at the same time, like I said, why am I going to leave the comfort of my home and the things that I have there if I don't have to? If there's a fire or a mass casualty situation, of course I would be ready to leave, and that's kind of what this bag is preparing me for. But I would rather just grab this type of thing and throw it into my vehicle. So I've got food storage stuff at home that's ready to throw into a vehicle. I've got this bag that's ready to throw into a vehicle. I've got clothing that's already in my vehicle. So this bag supplements those kind of things. So I will go through this thing. I'll try not to make it too long, but I'm going to beat myself up a lot as I pull this stuff out. So Rob's already giving me shit about it, so we can go through that too. So this is kind of the hygiene element of it, I guess, in this front pocket. Take this FitBit off because it keeps falling off. I've got a carabiner on the outside of the bag, but that's more or less to, I don't know, if I needed a carabiner. I usually kind of typically have one of these on the outside of packs, because if I'm hiking and things like that, I typically carry a mesh bag with me, and I'll throw my socks on there to dry if I switch out pairs of socks. So that's kind of the methodology behind that. First of all, I would ditch this container that I even have this in. This is heavy. This is way before I got into hardcore lightweight backpacking stuff, so I cringe when I open this stuff, so bear with me here. I have a whole thing of Wilderness Wash. Don't need that. That's probably a whole month's supply of soap. I've got Carmex. I've got dental floss. Got a Greenie Weenie for cleaning. Whole tube of toothpaste, which is unnecessary. And the other thing that I want to say too is that this is for myself, my wife, and my kids. So there's 3 people that are kind of, this bag was designed for, hence how big it is. So that's why there are 3 toothbrushes that are still packaged. So I guess we could share a toothbrush, so there's really not a reason for 3 toothbrushes. Mirror's pretty thin. I do like that, so that's pretty lightweight. I don't know what I'd really need that for other than to look at back molars or something like that. I don't know. So there is a microfiber towel in here. Obviously, it's still wrapped, which I could ditch that. So many possibilities for weight savings. A couple of trash bags, which I would definitely keep. I think trash bags are good for a lot of different things. So that's kind of, I guess, there's hand sanitizer too, which obviously that's a huge bottle of hand sanitizer. Don't necessarily need all that per se. Try to keep this somewhat organized as I go through all this so I can get it back in. So this is also a GoRuck GR2. If you're not familiar with GoRuck, they make great dependable packs. I've actually hiked up a couple of 14ers with this pack, so I know it's good to go. I know it's dependable. It's been proven. I know that I can hike with much more weight than this for a longer distance than I would probably have to. So that's the other thing I want to say about packs is that you should really not just buy a bug out bag or whatever you call it. You should really train with it. You should know that you can carry that amount of weight. You should know what kind of footwear you have. You should know how many changes of socks you need for that distance you have to cover. So you should have a foot kit in there to repair your feet and things like that, which I have in my vehicle, so it's not necessarily in this. But like I said, this is more of a supplement bag anyway. So, so in here, this is, I guess, my fire and light type pouch here, or pocket. So I've got some fire starting material. This is fat wood that's been reduced to shavings. Great fire starter, by the way, fat wood. If you're not familiar with fat wood, it is the resin collected at the base of pine trees when they die. That's kind of what gets gathered, and that's where fat wood comes from. Great fire starting material. Magnesium fire starter is old GI type magnesium fire starter with a striker on it. I've got a Fresnel lens on here, which can be used to start fires. Got some I call them lifeboat matches, but there's a lot of different names for these. Boat matches, wind and water safety matches, so basically heavy duty matches. Got some, I think these are called Pink Lady candles if I remember right, but they last for a long time. I've got them vacuum sealed in here. So more fire starting material. I have way too much fire starting stuff, so that's a knock on myself too. Got a lighter. I've got steel wool, cotton balls soaked in Vaseline. Hopefully you guys know what those things are, right? Another candle that's seen better days. Looks like it got melted a little bit in the heat. Another sparker. Some Tinder Quick tabs. 3 flashlights. I guess that was one for each of us kind of thing that I thought about. But they all work. I do test this stuff from time to time. Flashlight, this is a E-light from Petzl. I really like these things, but I am not as big of a fan of them as I used to be, only because I almost got mauled by a bobcat one night and I couldn't see crap because I had this on. So I don't think the LED is bright enough on here, in my opinion, for certain applications like bobcats. So yeah, it is what it is. So I mentioned how I would change the hygiene stuff. I would really reduce the amount of stuff I had for the fire stuff. You know, honestly, maybe I would look at it as though I need to start a fire 7 times over 7 days, you know, something like that. Maybe you can come up with a metric for how many days you expect yourself to kind of use the bag. That's what I really need to do with a lot of this stuff too. So got a couple of chem lights still in the package. I would remove these. A lot of people think that if you remove chem lights from the package, it voids the, I guess, what they're made out of, and it won't. I've used chem lights well beyond the expiration date as well, so just a tip. So this is kind of, I guess, my signaling type stuff. I do have a compass in here. This is a Silver Ranger. I use a few different types of compasses, but compasses are very important in my opinion. So I have got in here some flares, signal flares. I've got a MPIL signal panel, a whistle, another signaling device, signal mirror, pace count beads, which These are kind of old school pace count beads. I would definitely replace these with some that I know that we've wrote an article before on how to make your own. And this is a cut down VS17 panel, which that's redundant with a MPIL, so obviously I have some areas that I can cut down there too in terms of weight and redundancy. If you're not familiar with kind of MGRS or UTM protractors and navigating with these, I would highly suggest checking out an article we have on them. I will link to it below because I think it's an important skill for everybody, not just to read our article. I really think that being able to navigate with that type of system does wonders for your abilities outdoors. So hopefully everyone knows how to do that. And if not, check out the article below in the description on how to navigate using MGRS. I think we have a good article. I'm a little biased, I know, but I think the article is good. All right, so that's signaling. The GR2 is a very cool pack too, just because of all the internal storage that it has. Hopefully you guys can see that, but it's got pretty good internal mesh pockets, which I really like for organization. As you guys probably know by now from watching gear tasting, I'm a little OCD, so I like my stuff organized. This is kind of, I guess, kind of a food supplement pocket. So I've got a bunch of power bars that are just quick, good snacks on the go. I like power bars because they last for a while. Usually the expiration dates are over a year, which I like. But I cycle these in too because I'll eat them as snacks too. So then I've got a old Altoids tin here with some Jolly Ranchers, just in case. You gotta have candy, right? This is a Silcock key, so if you ever encounter a spigot, like a water spigot that does not have a handle to turn, that's what this key's for. So a lot of times the security features of people that don't want you to get their water will be, not having the knob to turn, so that's what this is for. I've got a fishing emergency kit from our buddies at Survival Resources. I really like what John's done. That's where I first kind of started building my own survival kits and learning about that type of stuff was through John's book. I think it's called Build the Perfect Survival Kit or Build a Perfect Survival Kit. He's got a lot of great stuff in here. And a lot of stuff that is in this bag was influenced from his writing too. So, and like this. So this is an automatic fishing reel. You can see that I've used this a ton of times. I wouldn't have this still in the package either. I would remove that. Kicking myself for doing that. I have used these before. These are pretty good. You can set these up and just have kind of triggers set up for fishing. I do like that application of those. So this is, I guess, my supplement to the food stuff that you'll see in a minute, but I've got some emergency salt and pepper, chicken bouillon, some English breakfast tea, some sugar, things like that, kind of condiments type stuff. And then, so this inner pocket here, very embarrassed by these little FRS radios. I hate these things. I would carry the other radios that I've talked about in Gear Tasting now. I've got way better radios that I have had since these little cheap FRS radios. But, hey, they are what they are, and, if communications go down, maybe you could reach somebody on an FRS because they are so common. So, there is an inherent application for those too. I've got all my spare batteries in here. Batteries for anything that takes batteries are in here, and these stay updated on a regular basis for expiration dates. Writing supplies in here. I've got, looks like a little thermometer and compass that has obviously gone bad. I just saw that for the first time. But I do have a regular compass, so that's okay. I've got a measuring tape, some pens and pencils, and a notepad, waterproof notepad in there. And then in here was, so this is an emergency radio. This is one of those little hand crank, Eaton, I think is how you pronounce the brand, E-T-O-N. But you can actually crank these up and listen to the radio.
22, Waco, sunny.
There's my emergency radio.
Index 100.
So yeah, I can get the weather radio on here without batteries, which I like. So that's why I carry this thing. They do make smaller ones too, so that's an area I could save some weight too, is to get a smaller hand crank radio. All right, so then we have the main compartment, which this is where Rob gave me a bunch of shit because I still have my MREs fully packaged. They're not they're not field stripped, which I went over in an old video from ITS. But the reason I don't have them field stripped is because I do cycle these in and out quite a bit. Because MREs really can't be left in the heat. I mean, in hot weather, you're only going to get about a year to 2 years out of the shelf life for MREs if you leave them in the heat. So that's kind of why I cycle them out. Because this bag does stay in the garage and it does get hot in there, my shelf life on MREs is not what it should be. So before I kind of go through that, I do have a couple more pockets here that I want to go through. So I have a sewing awl. If you've ever used one of those, it's basically a way to stitch things together. This is an old one I've had forever. Anyway, sorry. But you basically have a needle and you're pressing that in, so every time you press it in, you can pull it back out, and it's got a, you basically can stitch with it. So it's like a mini sewing machine, so to speak. I like them. I think they're very handy to have. Don't use them on a regular basis, obviously, but it is in here. Then I've got an actual sewing kit. This is a little mini sewing kit that I can't even remember where I got this from, but that's my little sewing kit there. Then I've got super glue. Comes in very handy. Tripwire for making snares and things like that. Got some, I guess I decided to put some bandage tape, or I can't remember the name real quick, but then there's duct tape inside of there. So, and then I've got some aluminum foil, which I don't know what I'd do with just that small amount of aluminum foil, but I guess I got some. So, like I said, need to go through this stuff. Then, where were we at? I'm losing my place. Whole roll of Battle Systems tape, kind of too much to carry, I think. I could probably cut that down and, do something like this. I kind of had the right idea with this, putting tape around something else. So that's something you can do with duct tape and other things, is always wrap them around Nalgene bottles and things like that. Then I've got Sunblock Bug Spray, and then some antibacterial hand wipes. Kinesis is a great sunscreen. I've been using that for years. I like to advocate it. We don't sell it. I just like to say it's a great sunscreen. So it also smells really good too. So then I've got, oh yeah, that's classy. I'll show you this. So this is called Way Too Much Cordage Pocket. So I've got 550 paracord here. I've got more paracord here, and then I've got more paracord here. So I got paracord covered. So I think this is our jute paracord. No, actually this is reflective paracord. This is jute, if I believe. So then I've got 3 bandanas. I guess that was a one per person type thing that I came up with. And then these are emergency sunglasses. And when you go to the eye exam, you get those funky sunglasses. Keep them, because you can actually use those. And it's not something you really think about having in a kit, but man, if I lost my sunglasses, I would be beating myself up if I had to walk down the street for 10 miles in the sun without sunglasses. So that's why I carry these. There happens to be 3 pairs in there too, just so we can all look cool at the same time. I've got 3 Walmart hooded ponchos. These are like the dollar store ponchos that always rip when you try to put them on, but I have them anyway. But remember, I had some trash bags too, so I could always use those. Then get into this area. I think that was everything from here. Yep. So here I've got, I was trying to remember what was in here. So a lot of this stuff, these individual bags could really be removed to save some weight too. So I've got 3 spoons here. These are little Msr spoons. I tried to make my own cool titanium design by burning this spoon, and I don't know, I guess it worked somewhat. Really need other things to anodize with, but then I've got a big water bag here. That's a large bag to hold water. There's more foil. So I think that's an actual foil bread pan that I folded up in there. So that could be good to gather water with. Catadine water tabs, always a good thing to have. but then I actually have a full-on water filter as well. So I think this is a Guide Hiker, that's what it's called. So I have a Hiker water filter, and of course it's got all these accessories in here that have a bunch of weight, that add a bunch of weight for no reason. Like I don't have an Nalgene in here, but yet I have the thing to fill an Nalgene with. But then again, I do have Nalgenes in my truck, so there you go. Probably some weight I could cut here too. Then in here I've got a tarp to set up a shelter. I've also got a tent in my truck as well as a sleeping bag, so that's where I have my clothing and things like that. But we did a video, like a 3-part series back when YouTube only allowed 10-minute videos on how to set up one of these tent tarp shelters. So I will try to link to that 3-part series down in the description for you. Put that back in. Toilet paper, always got to have toilet paper, very important. Then I purchased 3 of these little, I think these are from Adventure Medical, I think the SOL bivvies. So these are little bivvy bags, like emergency bivvies. I have 3 of those in here. I have some rope that's assault line, so that blue water assault line to make a rappelling harness in a pinch if I needed to, but I also have a full-on rappelling harness in my truck and another rope if I needed it, so kind of a supplement again. Fire knife, I really swear by these things. I love the Msr fire knives. At one time in the store we had some ITS logoed ones that we had. Just love these knives. I'm not a huge fan of this sheath, but I love the knives just because inside the butt of the knife is a ferro rod, and because of the angle of the back there, they really throw a huge spark, which is great for starting fires with. Definitely swear by these. You won't go wrong. They're only like 30 bucks too, so definitely pick one of those up. Leatherman, I have an old Leatherman that's super heavy. This is like the first Leatherman wave they came out with. I like it, but it's just super heavy. So I would probably find something that wasn't that heavy. Also have a Gerber Handsaw. I actually really like these. I've used these for a couple years now. This one's unused because it's been in here, but these are pretty handy as a fold-up saw to have, and they're super lightweight too. So there's one thing I have that's lightweight in there. Again, 3 MREs are in here. Non-field stripped MREs. I think that's, I'm going to save that for last. Have a pair of trauma shears in here as well. And then this is my, I guess, this is a Snow Peak. I think they call this the Mini TI Cook Set, if I'm not mistaken. And I have a couple of things inside of here, which is why I'm opening this up. It's not just the cook set. So I actually have a Snow Peak stove attachment in here. So this is my stove that I use. Here's that cool looking titanium burn that I try to do on my spork. So what I like about this is it's not only got a cup that's down here, but it's got a cooking pot too. Then I keep fuel in here, so I've got 2 cans of fuel along with this, so I can heat up a lot of stuff, so I can boil water in emergency, which is great. And then of course I've got tons of methods to start a fire with too. So as you can see, I've got a lot of room for improvement, but overall I don't think that bag weighs, I want to say it's like right at 29 pounds or something like that, if I remember correctly now that I'm thinking about weight of the bag. The GR2 is not in itself a super lightweight bag, but it's super dependable and durable, which is why I have it. It's kind of an expensive bag to just put on a shelf with all your stuff in it and forget about it, but at the same time, I wanted something that was good to go and dependable. So hopefully you enjoyed the look through the bag, whatever you call it, garage bag. I don't know what to call it, so maybe you guys can come up with a nice, cool name that I can start calling it. All right, before I get to the other 2 questions I have, just briefly, I'm going to try to link to some stuff that some content stuff that we've posted on ITS that'll kind of give you a little bit more info on bolt bags. Bolt bags are, in my opinion, a lot different than something like this bag. So I wanted to share that little tidbit with you too, and I'll make sure I put a link in there. So a lot of reading to do in the description if you're so inclined. All right, so the next question comes from Gray on Twitter, who asked, do you have welding in your skill set? I'm new to it, but feel it would be beneficial to have the skills and kit. I completely agree with you. It's actually on my bucket list. I have an ongoing list of things that I'd like to learn, new skills that I want to teach myself, and welding is very high on that list. I did a little bit of acetylene stuff, if that's even a type of welding, I'm not sure. But I did some stuff like that back in junior high in shop class when they actually let you play with torches and things like that. Not that I'm super old, but I remember that crap from junior high. My shop teacher was awesome. He was missing part of his finger too, which meant he was legit. But anyway, I'd like to get into more welding. I did a little bit of it, so I kind of know the principles of it just a little bit. But obviously I'm not certified to do it. I haven't taken any classes, so I would love to actually get into that as a skill. So super cool you have that and you're doing it. Keep it up. I think it's great to have that. The more skills and the more prepared you can be with knowledge and things like that when the world comes to an end, if you want to call it that, I think the better. So yeah, congrats, man. Let me know what kind of welder you're using too. I'm kind of curious. So, all right. Timothy on Twitter asks, Orlando resident here, would you do some stuff on preparing for and responding to an active shooter situation? So, real quick, I think that was a tragic circumstance and turn of events in Orlando. Our thoughts and prayers have been with the victims and their families. So, things like that continue to happen, and I'm not going to get up here on a soapbox and pretend I know what happened there and what I would do and that type of thing. Active shooter wise, we've talked a little bit about this before, and I've talked about not going into a situation I wasn't already a part of. So that's big for me. I wouldn't put myself or my family or anybody else in danger by thinking I'm going to save the day and I'm Superman. I'm just not going to do it. If I see that occurring, I will do something about it if I'm in the mix. So if I'm outside of that, my job, in my opinion, at that point becomes a reporter. I'm there to gather information and give higher echelon care my feedback and things that I notice. But obviously, if there's a chance for me to do something to save lives, I will try to do that. But there's just a fine line there, in my opinion. So as far as active shooter situations go, it really depends where you're at in the situation. If you have a gun and you have a concealed carry permit, carry it. That's number one on the list. If you have it, carry it. Don't be without it. That's number one, in my opinion. So the other thing is using your skills and your knowledge to train those around you too. So share the skill set. Get your wife her concealed carry permit. Teach her how to use it. Show your kids how to shoot from an early age. Train them on gun safety and things like that. Honestly, that's my opinion on active shooter scenarios. It would be to try to make sure those around me were on the same page. I wish I had more of an answer. Training is, obviously high on my priority list, as it should be yours, in my opinion, too. Get yourself the training that you need to be able to handle any circumstance, be it, a welding machine or firearms training or medical training, which is very high on my list too. So, the more trained and the more prepared you are, the better you can overcome any situation that may present itself to you. So hopefully that gives you a little insight. I'm sorry it's not more kind of probably what you were looking for on preparing for an active shooter situation, but I'm not a big fan of having particular gear for a active shooter scenario. If you're law enforcement and that's your job is to respond to that kind of thing, that's a different scenario and a different story. I'm not going to speak to that because I'm not a law enforcement officer and I don't really know what they would carry to an active shooter situation. I've never had LE law enforcement training on active shooter scenarios, so I'm not going to speak to that. So at any rate, that's my opinion. That's the drinking game, right? You should probably drink since I said that. So anyhow, thanks for the question. So again, thank you very much for the questions. Brought to you by Boss Premium Coffee out of Japan and my friend Nick. As always, if you have questions, use the # Gear Tasting on any of the social media networks and we'll get them answered for you. Thanks again for watching. If you like what we're doing here on Gear Tasting, please consider joining as a crew leader in our membership and allow us to give you back something in return. Thanks a lot for watching.